Hi, Cancer Rising Sign. Here is your weekly forecast starting on the 9th of February until the 15th of February. So it's the 8th and the 10th house that is the most active part of your chart. So let's actually have a look at why it is. But remember, if you want to study with me, then there is a new membership program. It's super affordable. You have got 250 courses and webinars available at any time for you to watch, depending on what level you are ready to sign up for. So, Cancer, what is happening this week? Well, we have got the Mercury and Pallas in a conjunction in your ninth house. And straight after Mercury, we'll be making a conjunction to North Node. So, this is all in your ninth house, which is the house of higher learnings. But it's also connected to travel and belief system as well. So I can imagine that it's all about the meaning to life, and all of a sudden things are going to start making sense for you, and you are ready to change your worldview. I can imagine that you have got a chance to travel or, let's say, study abroad. These might be coming out of nowhere, and it can feel like that, oh, this is meant to be my destiny. Or I can imagine, especially if you are dealing with contracts or legislation matters, that maybe you find a creative loophole or a non-traditional way to resolve a conflict, let's say with a teacher, with a guru, universities, official places, and so forth. You can even kind of come across a book, a course, or a teacher that feels like the missing piece in your education. And hopefully, if it's an astrological teacher that you are looking for, then you have found me. And also, this could be an indication where you realize your message or work has the potential to reach an international, a much broader audience as well. Now, next stop is Sun in your eighth house, making a sextile to Chiron in your 10th house. And this is about financial confidence on one hand. So, getting confident with money, getting confident of charging, for example, to others. It's a deep dive into shared resources or having to deal with taxes, for example. And you might feel a little bit insecure about it, but it's about maybe a little bit of a worry as well, how you are going to be surviving, for example, in this job, or how you can actually boost your professional status. So I can imagine that you are ready to launch a new career initiatives, something that you were previously afraid to start. Maybe you realize that the professional wound is in actually inherited from a parent. And what if I'm going to start working on that and then I can turn this into a strength? Or maybe the partner's financial situation is improving and the partner is giving you the courage to take the public stand, to go after something that you have been desiring for a while. Or maybe it's about you being recognized for handling some heavy stuff, for example, in the industry that you work at. We have got a Mars conjunction to Vesta also in the sign of Aquarius too, and this is an important one because Mars is the dispositor of your Saturn, which just moves into the sign of Aries a few hours before the Mars and Vesta conjunction happens. We are going to be making a separate video about this because this is actually a super important cosmic signature. But so Mars Vesta is in your eighth and Saturn is in your 10th house. And it looks like that you are about to commit to a 2.5 year plan, maybe to settle debts or to build a legacy for yourself. There might be a major crisis or deep psychological work that has to be done, but if you do so, the next 2.5 years, you are getting promoted. You are going to be achieving a new career status. Maybe you are ready to sign a long-term business partnership or a contractual agreement, but it requires you to have a lot of focus. I can also imagine that you and your partner decide to build kind of like the legacy together, like a professional empire, for example. So we are ready to merge our resources. And this is not just a romantic partnership, of course. We need to be able to remember that also. Also, I can imagine that you realize that I want to be building actually my own professional reputation and I don't want to be building someone else's. So having the courage to kind of leave something behind so that you can pursue your own career. Or maybe you are doing an intense research about career opportunities. Maybe you become a little bit more investigative when it comes to, what is happening at work, with colleagues, with the boss, and so forth. Next up is Jupiter and Juno opposition, and that is happening in your first and seventh house. And this is about, well, Jupiter wants you to go through this personal expansion. And the primary partner might be expecting you to remain within the old rules of the relationship. And this is where we can have a tug of war. So this is kind of like a me versus the us growth. In a way, Jupiter wants to say yes to every single opportunity, but your partner, your business partner might insist on a slow, more disciplined approach. Or I can imagine that you have got this new serious partnership appearing as you are kind of like becoming the most authentic self. And the partner is trying to force you to negotiate on something. Jupiter in your first house wants you to have your own personal brand. It's about you increasing your visibility, but it can cause friction with an ally of yours who might prefer to keep things strictly professional or private. Or you might even realize that for your personal growth to continue, you kind of have to be upgrading the contracts of your most important relationships. Next up is Arachne entering your seventh house as well. And the seventh house is partnership and agreements. So this is kind of like a relational contract here. So we redefine the rules of a partnership, ensuring that both parties have a clear kind of structural role. Or maybe this is a strategic alliance. So I'm going to collaborate with someone who might possess the exact technical skills that you lack. So we are weaving a business together. Or if there are certain type of disagreements happening in your life, this is about using cold logic or pattern recognition to show the other party why your solution is the only one that works. Or you realize the pattern of the people you attract and therefore you can start working on that. Or maybe you are about to be handling a formal agreement, but Arachne is all about details. So with a level of detail that leaves no room for future misunderstanding. So there's a hesitation here to potentially sign a contractual agreement. Arachne is important because it's going to be here until the end of the year. Amor is entering the sign of Pisces, which is your ninth house. And maybe this is a travel experience that is going to feel like that, like my soul belongs there. Or you find that teacher or that belief system that is kind of showing a different way of loving, kind of like that unconditional love. Or maybe you feel deeply connected to a foreign culture, a humanitarian cause, or this newly found meaning to life could be a new love of yours. Or you might even get a piece of advice, or someone is kind of painting the bigger picture for you in a way, especially if we had a narrow perspective or a narrow way of thinking before. Or maybe it's about faith. It's not necessarily wanting to know the future, but it's trusting that the universe has got my back, or the universe is always going to put me on a path that is going to teach me something. And last but not least, we've got asteroid Lilith moving into the sign of Aries, which is your 10th house. And I can imagine that you reject to be in a traditional career path and you want to be bold, you want to be independent, you want to be going towards your vocational calling. Therefore, you might be challenging the status quo of an authority figure, for example. So you stand up to a boss or even an institution who might be trying to stifle your personal agenda. Or you might even stop curating your public image and you start showing a little bit more of an untamed version of your professional self, or you decide to work for yourself and you take full ownership of your public output, or you stop caring about being liked by the boss and you start caring about being respected for what you have achieved and what you are capable of achieving. So, a bit of a summary for you, Cancer. It looks like you are focusing quite a lot on professional spheres in the upcoming week. I think there is a spiritual realization that you want to be doing something more meaningful, and then you are being pushed into a different career path. And there is surely a focus on financial transformation. Let's say I want to invest, I want to do client-based work. And there is a lot of psychological depth this week as well. Well, maybe you're reevaluating your self-worth. So, good luck, Cancer Rising, and I will see you next week. Take care. Bye bye.